Rewind-A-Dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly as we hear from John and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know. Let them know.
John Pollock and Wai Ting. Not a hat between us as we are here to chat about AEW Dynamite. And ladies and gentlemen, the only news pack in the entire industry that will cover the Duke of Dorchester, Pete Doherty, Tommy Dreamer, Callum Newman, Cash Patel, and Conor McGregor.
Somehow we did it. Yeah. Maybe somebody will tell us, hey, didn't you listen to this news pack? You know, that covered all this. But did anybody do it as well as we did? I don't know.
Not a chance. Not a chance. All of that can be listened to if you are a Post Wrestling Café member. And wanted to give a plug to myself, who conducted an interview with former WWE co-president George Barrios, which is now up on the site and on our YouTube channel for everybody to check out. A wide range of opinions toward this interview, and
What are some of those? What do you mean? I've not been online. What's the range?
I'm never online. It would seem some people thought George Barrios' volume was a little high. I didn't notice it in the moment. He might have been a little excited, but that's I think that is what to expect. Did you hear any of the interview?
I listened to the whole thing. I thought you.
Well, what did you think about it?
First, I've said this to you in private. I think you are the best equipped person to be able to conduct an interview like this, and I don't think I'm sorry for the still shot,
dude. Every still shot, it does not convey what I was thinking, but I was trying to find a still shot, and every one of them looks like a big difference between the two.
I have to admit, having made one or two thumbnails with your face, it is a bit challenging trying to find one. Nonetheless, highly recommend this interview. I thought you did a tremendous job. Like, you know, and I can tell everybody listening to this, John put a lot of pressure on himself for this one. He was doing a whole lot of research and like really wanted this to be, you know, him at his best, and I really feel like you were. So I don't know what sort of range of responses you've been hearing, but I've certainly almost entirely heard praise. So, what
were there any topics you were hoping to hear from that maybe we did not bring up? Because I had the challenge of trying to get as much as I could in a relatively small. We had like a 30-minute window, and I did go overtime here, but I did want to hit like a bunch of topics, and you know, I did my best to try and get as many very. You
touched on Saudi. You touched on like Janelle Grant. You touched on, I guess, like the sale, or at least like his comeback. So if I can think of it, I'm sure you already would have.
Did you order a copy of the book after listening?
You know, I'm not much of a reader, but
okay.
Yeah. I thought he, again, I'd be curious to hear your maybe like further thoughts on the interview, which I assume you and I'm curious to hear Brandon Thurston's thoughts on it, which I'm assuming you two will.
We're going to talk about this tomorrow night. I think we'll run some of the clips and talk about it on okay. there as well. So yeah, it was. I didn't know how the interview was going to go overall. I had my criticisms of myself, but it was, you know, it seemed to be people found it at least interesting, which I was encouraged by today, that at least the subject matter seemed to be of interest to people. So listen to it for yourself.
It's probably like, is this the highest ranking like official within the WWE that you've had a chance to speak to?
Like in an interview setting?
Yeah.
You've
never interviewed Nick Khan.
I've never
interviewed
Nick Khan.
You might have interviewed Paul Levesque when he was a wrestler, but not. This guy was higher ranking than Paul Levesque.
Oh yeah, like you know, him and Michelle Wilson were like the number 2 people in the company, especially from 2018 until 2020. Like they, even before those years, like they were like, if you were to make the depth chart, it's like, yeah, they were right at the hip of like Vince McMahon during that whole period. And the book is like like it's of no care to me if you check out the book or not, but like he does like raise the topic of like Saudi Arabia, but I did want to push him a little bit more on that. It's like, you know, in talking about the return to the board in 2023 as well, like he's, you know, I asked him flat out, like, would you, like in the shareholder lawsuit, like he's literally described as a Vince McMahon loyalist. And I didn't know if that was a title that he would push back on. He did push back. He says, I'm loyal, but I am not a loyalist. But certainly, like he was, when Vince was coming back to the board, it's like those were the calls he made, was to George Barrios and Michelle Wilson. He wanted to have those two for this return to the company. So anyway, that interview is up. I also want to make mention that on the free tier of the Post Wrestling Cafe, the latest edition of the wellness policy, where we have, I never know what I'm going to hear, whether it be descriptions of mic checks. On a side note, I'm just all over the place here. An amazing YouTube short on our favorite post wrestling beekeeper, Neil Flanagan. Oh my gosh. I've watched this thing like 3 different times. It's amazing. It's so good.
Shout out Sean Harrell, who does our incredible shorts, along with Luke, who does incredible work over on our YouTube and social media channels. But yeah, thank you, John, for shutting that one out.
The best usage of bees since the first My Girl movie.
Yeah,
Thomas J.
Thank you. And Neil Flanagan will forever be known as a
I can't get this visual out of my head. It looks so real. It looks like a movie that I would definitely like see on a dare.
Yeah, it's like, so interesting to see what people are responding to. You know, the Leo Rush one seems to be getting like a good amount of views. Anyway, okay. Yeah, very proud of the work our team, Luke and Sean, have put into our shorts and also our clips over at youtube.com.
But back to the wellness policy. Check it out. It's on the free tier and on the YouTube channel as well. Open topics.
Really enjoyed the show as always. I mean, these are some of my favorite shows, like where we just kind of open it up and just turn the mics on and just see what comes out. And there was plenty discussed. So check that out on the Post Wrestling Cafe free feed or on YouTube.
And last plug, Thursday, we're releasing the newest Rewind-A-Wai. We are up to number 208, and we are covering WrestleMania 33, the Ultimate Thrill Ride from 9 years ago. This event took place, featuring The Undertaker's 10th final match of his career against Roman Reigns. And what a ceremony your 10th final match requires, that we will get at the end of that show. Bill Goldberg and Brock Lesnar redoing their WrestleMania, trying to erase the memories of 2004. The return of the Hardys. We have Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens in Vince McMahon's most hated match of the year, that I think that was on his year-end awards. And John Cena getting down on one knee and proposing.
It was quite the event, yeah, and will be fun to revisit.
Randy Orton's entrance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I remembered the entrance. I forgot the bullshit during the match. So all of that to come on Rewind-A-Wai this coming week. Presented by Snickers.
Hungry?
Nope, not for this show.
Oh, okay.
On to Dynamite we go from Sugarland, Texas.
Yeah.
When you have such an exotic name like Sugarland, Texas, something falls flat when the venue is the Smart Financial Center. I was expecting like the Cookie Emporium or something like that. Like, I don't know. So give me something here. 3,348 according to WrestleTix. This was Wai's got the map up here. This was much closer to like a theater type of setting for it. It looked good on camera. And this was the crowd that, unless someone tells me that they flew 3,300 people over from Japan, it was like the ultimate Hazuki crowd. I mean, my God, they could not have asked for a better crowd for Hazuki in that match with Mercedes.
I mean, I personally, I felt they were strongest for the main event, but like this was a great sounding crowd, period. You know, and maybe like this being an auditorium, like having great acoustics would make sense, but they were hot, right? And maybe
this is how I imagine that high school gym show featuring Bob Backlund and the Duke of Dorchester sounded in 1983.
Yes, R.I.P. I thought it looked great. Like, you know, again, it's one of those venues that I think like looks different from all the rest and looked really cool on camera. So like credit to production, well, credit to the people for finding it, but also for production for finding a great way to capture it, I thought.
Lexi Nair's backstage with MJF and the Don Callis family, and Max says he doesn't like Kevin Knight, but he respects him. And as he's looking at Kyle Fletcher, says that Kevin Knight is the most talented young prospect to try and get under the skin of Fletcher. And then he just runs through all the possible contenders and runs them down. He says, Strickland, why don't you swerve off a bridge? Will, it's not 2024 anymore. And if you make it to Wembley, I'm going to break your neck again. He mentions Hangman's name, but laughs, knowing he means nothing anymore. Tells Omega, keep my name out of your mouth, and brings up that he is 2-0 against Kenny, who is not a god, but a mere mortal. And then finally, Mark Briscoe, who is not a top star like the other people I mentioned, and people only feel bad for you because your brother died. And he has put together the most dangerous team as Don Callis names Team MJF for Forbidden Door, which will consist of Max, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Jake Doyle, Kazuchika Okada, and finally, Andrade, who is not happy about being part of MJF's team. And Callis explains that one day, Andrade, you'll be a great world champion, but for now, do the match. And we should also mention that as the final one was named, for whatever reason, Trent thought he was going to headline an AEW pay-per-view.
They also had him linger in the background, so it does make me wonder if this is meant to lead to something for Trent, but
I hope
maybe not. I mean, everybody kind of needs something. You got Jake Doyle, who's like, leapfrogged ahead of him now in the group. But I thought it was a strong segment for MJF, who like basically pointed a machine gun at like all of his ops in one swoop. And, if you wanted, you could have like 6 months of programs for MJF just in like this sort of roll call that he gave to everybody gunning for his championship. But something tells me his title reign won't be lasting that long. I think him continuing to bring Paige up is interesting because I can certainly see Paige. Well, I would expect Paige to return before All In, having a spot at All In. And I feel like a leading contender for his opponent would probably be MJF, right?
If MJF loses the title, it could make a lot of sense to have Hangman and MJF at Wembley.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's something else at stake? Maybe that's where you do hair.
Maybe they have a joust on horses.
That would be incredible in that stadium. Yeah.
I didn't notice until you pulled up the photo there, but this last weekend, Brian Cage did some bodybuilding competition, and I believe he won it, and he's wearing his medal.
Oh, okay. What's his championship? He's also holding a belt.
Yeah, I don't know. Does he have a belt?
Yeah, he's holding a championship, like on his shoulder.
I mean, does he have a wressling belt? I don't know. I don't know what that is. Don't ask me to keep track of.
Does he have something in ROH? I don't think so. Okay, whatever. Chat room, let me know. All right, what kind of champion is Brian Cage?
We go to the ring. We go from Trent's big tease to Tony Nese standing in the ring, and he is awaiting an opponent. And out comes Kenny Omega. And dude, I could watch like 5-minute Kenny Omega matches every week. I love these. Bad Dude Tito, Tony Nese. I think these are great to have.
Gone are the days of Alan Angel's 20-minute matches, okay? Number one, this preserves Kenny in a great way, which at this point I think we're all grateful for, to have his career extended by not like completely taxing himself on a random edition of like Dynamite. Number two, it builds anticipation for his longer matches on pay-per-view. And listen, I feel like I was one of the few to stand on the side of like that Alan Angels argument against, having Alan Angels have like a 20-minute match. But I think this is great for Kenny right now.
Well, it was real quick. Sterling distracted him, allowing Nese to go for the knee, but then missed a cabrata, allowing a pair of dragon suplex to set up the V-trigger and one winged angel. Forget 5 minutes. He needed 1 minute and 52 seconds to win. It was so quick that Excalibur couldn't even remind us about his debilitating health issue. As Kenny is in the ring, out comes Zack Sabre Jr. And he hasn't come alone. He's brought Bad Dude Tito and Mikey Nichols. And so they come out, and out come the Young Bucks and Jack Perry to back up Kenny. And Omega says he doesn't know what TMDK stands for. And he calls Zack the greatest technical wrestler still going. And both of us want to win, but we're going to have to wait for the pay-per-view. And all I could think of was I am hopeful of Zach getting a match on Collision, because this was a hell of a trip for this guy to take, to just be upended here on the microphone and not get a word in. But we will get Zach on Collision on Saturday.
I really do feel like it was a missed opportunity to showcase Zack Sabre Jr. On the microphone here, which is, I think, one of his most unique qualities. You know, like it was
let
nice
him be dropping dickheads here on live television.
It was nice of Kenny to like give us a nice little sort of like, you know, introduction to Zach. Not that he needs one to this audience, but like he did, you know, at least like remind us of who he was, the best technical wrestler alive. But I also felt it was very important, like when you have your biggest audience here on Dynamite, for Zach to be able to establish his presence a bit more. So hopefully you get that next week.
We might get a 6-man next week on Dynamite.
Yes,
with all of these
great.
guys, because that's what I thought they were going to be setting up here. But you know, you do the Zach match on Saturday, and it could certainly, you do this next Wednesday going into the pay-per-view.
Support for this podcast comes from NordVPN. There is a lot of wrestling happening every week, and if you're a completist like we are at Post, then you probably know how expensive it can be juggling multiple streaming services just to keep up. In some parts of the world, things are set up pretty well. Regions where WWE lives on a single paid streaming service, others where AEW fans can get their weekly shows and pay-per-views bundled under one subscription. But when those fans travel abroad, they lose access to those fully featured versions of those services that they rely on at home. And that's where NordVPN comes in. No matter where you are, you can open the app on your phone, laptop, or Apple TV, connect to a server of your country's location, sign into your existing accounts, and keep up with your wrestling the way you do at home. John and I have been using Nord for over 3 years now, and it's become one of the most reliable, must-have tools in our wrestling consumption. It'll probably be for you as well. You can grab an exclusive NordVPN deal by going to our custom link, nordvpn.com/postwrestling. You'll get a big discount on any 2-year plan, plus 4 additional months on top. As always, it is completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/postwrestling. You can find all the information in the episode notes. Get your exclusive deal and let them know you found them through us.
Jon Moxley and Daniel Garcia, who apparently are undefeated as a tag team, taking on the reunited Brodito. First time they have teamed up in quite some time. King and Moxley just went at it here.
In almost a year, they said. They said the last time was at Forbidden Door, which is kind of shocking to me that it took that long.
Brodito hasn't teamed up since Forbidden Door?
That's what one of the commentators said.
I think that's... They had the tag belts afterwards.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe he means that something else? They formed at Forbidden Door?
Maybe they formed. Yeah.
Okay.
They formed.
Got it.
Garcia runs into a belly-to-belly by Bandito, and then King goes for a dive, but Marina steps in front, blocking him, and they start barking at one another. Moxley is able to hit a suicide dive as King was dealing with the barking, and takes a spike pile driver on the floor. They got the control of Brody King for, I think, half an hour, until Bandito gets the tag, and he does this great comeback, pop-up cutter on Moxley, one-arm gorilla press to Garcia, and then Marina runs in and gets hit with a vertical suplex by Bandito because Paul Turner is just distracted for the whole time here. Bandito hits a tope con hero onto all three. Unfortunately, none of the three decided to catch him. And Moxley stomps Bandito, breaking the cover. And after a knee strike to Garcia, King dives onto Moxley, allowing for Bandito to hit the 21-plex onto Daniel Garcia, who sold this 21-plex amazing. He just stayed ass over tea kettle for the 30 seconds afterwards. Yeah, this was great. And their first loss as a team, Way. Jon Moxley and Daniel Garcia, the dynasty shattered by Brodito here.
Well, okay, fine. Yeah, when you really think about it, like Moxley and Garcia losing doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But I do think the perception here is that Jon Moxley and the Death Riders lost, which is not that often of an occurrence. So I thought it was actually quite smart booking here if you want to, again, like reestablish Brodito as a top tag team, to have Jon Moxley on the losing end. Of course, it builds to, the match that they'll announce later for Forbidden Door. But also, like, you're not losing anything by having Garcia and Moxley lose as a team because they're not going for the tag titles. But you still, get the value of having Brodito beating the Death Riders with Jon Moxley in there as well. So I thought it was a great way to reestablish the team. I thought like they continue to show why they're so uniquely compelling by, like Brody here, I thought like looked great here fighting from underneath. And then when it was time for Bandito to come in for the save, he as always is spectacular. The finish with the 21 plex, the new 21 plex, which just completely fixes it. And the Brody Tope, I think is an awesome tag finish. So I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed continuing to see how the Death Riders are able to just perfectly transition from heel to babyface, like even within the same week, like within like a few days, very effectively whenever their opponents call for it. So, yeah.
This match was 22 minutes and 5 seconds. I thought Brody did miss an opportunity not challenging Josh Hokett afterwards. I think that would have gotten everyone back on board of the Brody King train.
It would have elicited maybe some fresh chance. Yeah.
Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada are together, and they're going to bring the international title back to the Don Callis family. And then we pan down, and there is poor Tom laid out in his brand new T-shirt, no less. If ever I was going to buy a wrestling T-shirt, which I will not, this might be the T-shirt I would get.
The Tomohiro Ishii shirt, what is it?
It's just his face. It's amazing. It's my favorite shirt right now. It's so good.
Interesting.
When I saw this on Collision, I howled. But Big Tom, he's been out since February with a neck injury, and it looks like it's been re-injured. I don't know when this man is going to wrestle again. I don't know what he's doing in the United States. I think he's just chilling here.
Do you think he's simply not cleared? Because they would have had reason to not include him anyway, regardless of the injury.
Well, maybe they felt a need to. I thought this was going to start a series of attacks that they were going to do. I didn't think it was going to end with Ishii, and they kind of hinted at it at the end where MJF is cranking on Roderick's arm at the end with the salt of the earth, but they didn't make too big a deal out of that. But yeah. I guess they felt the need to explain why Ishii isn't being chosen. Like maybe they felt, it's injuries have to be updated every couple of months.
It could be possible that they just simply brought him back for a few weeks just to do this angle. I mean, maybe he's close to returning and like he'll get his revenge on Okada or Fletcher or something. But I mean, this was an effective way to maybe build some heat, for these.
There's no one I want to see more of just shadow a guy for a week in between Dynamites, like what he does here in America during the week.
I bet you he's the life of the party in catering.
Probably. Yeah. Just like down in beers and, going to tailgates. Tommaso Ciampa gives a backstage message to Chris Jericho, clarifying he didn't always hate Jericho. He liked the version that traveled the world, the first AEW champion and an innovator. But in 2026, this version with the jokes and the puns, I hate it. It's like, well, quite a few did last week. And that version should stay home. But if you still have it in you and you think I'm worthy, then let's dance.
Yeah, I wonder how much of this might have been a response to some real life criticism of that segment last week going off the rails, or I mean, very possibly last week's segment was designed to go off the rails so that Ciampa could cut this promo. I don't know, but in either case, I mean, it's nice that they seem to recognize that last week was just not the type of feud we want, not the type of Tommaso Ciampa we want, and they're gonna get serious from here on out. It looks like.
I hope so. Although I did get a little nervous when he proposed dance. And do we get a dance off?
Maybe what was that thing he did with MJF? The
dinner debonair.
Then yeah, with Tommaso Ciampa. Can't be worse than what he's done in the previous year on the other shows.
The dogs are backstage and they do their deal lighting the match when Adam Copeland comes in and puts the flame out. Mm-hmm. His fingers.
I mean.
What a man.
Have you done this? Like, have you tried this trick?
It's not really a trick. It's just you're extinguishing a flame.
I guess I don't think it hurts that much.
It's pretty safe. Yeah. What do we think about this attire? I didn't catch the hat, but the guy's wearing a tragically hip sweater with a Faith No More t-shirt. I mean, this guy looked like, I don't know, someone I went to high school with that just had all the band merch and was just going to wear all of it.
They kind of say like, you know, in professional wrestling, you kind of stay as your high school self, like for the rest of your life. I mean, I'm sure this is just how he dresses normally. Come on, it's fine, down to earth. What do you want him in? Like a
Casual
suit?
cope.
Yeah, he wants to blend in, and amongst this wrestling crowd, I'm sure he would have. Yeah.
So they fight the dogs into the ring, and the dogs bail through the crowd. And so Cage, first of all, Cage and Christian were setting up for a double spear to Clark Connors, which I don't know how the physics of that was going to work, but they pulled him out. Finlay pulled Connors to safety and left through the crowd. And so Cage gets on the mic, and these two guys, like, they had to do their promos. They seemed really tired here. Like, they were like, this was quite the beatdown they must have given, because Cage was like out of breath here.
You try doing this, all right? When you're,
I'm not trying to do this, but if I was, if I was talking here and I couldn't talk, I'd be judged upon that. So Cage says that you're probably thinking I'm going to say something despicable, but he says that, Finlay, I wish your father let you run down the side of his leg.
I mean, not despicable and hilarious.
Yeah. So Christian then says that he says, I've never come across a team named after their mothers.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's good. Copeland then takes over, and he mentions the dogs being on a winning streak. And he says, I get it. You are us from 30 years ago, which is, he is actually like tacking on a few years to their WWF run. I don't know if saying 30 years would be, I would have just capped it at, you remind us of us. I don't need 3 decades.
You round up, you know.
It was it's like, yeah, it's a long time ago.
Listen, man, this is he's fully secure.
He is. He is way more secure than I am.
Yeah.
You guys are trying to make a name for yourselves, and 30 years ago, we thought we had it all figured out. And with a straight face said, then we ran into the New Age Outlaws and the APA, and we learned we didn't have it figured out. And that was the difference maker. I mean, everyone remembers that 3-way tag feud they had in the late 90s with 2 very famous teams, the APA and the New Age Outlaws. And wouldn't you know it, all of those men have had matches in the last year.
They have.
Maybe not Road Dogg. Maybe Road Dogg has.
Ron Simmons has had matches?
Oh, sorry. I'm
Bradshaw has had matches?
No, sorry. I had the Dudleys in my head, even though I was describing the APA. So just scratch that, okay? They're going to do a podcast now and make fun of my performance. Okay. So he says that they challenge them to Forbidden Door, where they're going to make the dogs housebroken little pups.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's really secure. He's so secure.
I thought it was a perfectly fine promo from these two. In fact, I thought like the lines from Christian were great. Like they perfectly sort of like towed the line of like being too far, but also for him being completely like crowd pleasing, because this is the type of like line we want a Christian that goes overboard. And I thought like he had some great lines.
Did this give inspiration for Will Ospreay for later? Oh, he's joking about chucking down his pants. What can I say? What can I say to my brand new wife? What would be a wonderful post wedding speech I can give on national television?
Remember that question we had about the show? Whether the show should be more family friendly.
Yeah, fuck that.
Not anytime soon. No.
I want to hear about these dudes like just jacking off down their legs,
Okay.
mounting their wives. Starlight Kid video package with subtitles, and she won't forgive Tekla for spitting on that LED screen that happened to have our logo blazoned on it. And she mentions having a win over Tekla. By my account on Cage Match, she is 2-0 against Tekla. And Tekla gets her response after the video airs saying, we both did the same work in the dojo, and I got nothing for it because I got kicked out of Japan, and mentions that Starlight Kid is Tony Khan's favorite wrestler outside of AEW.
Which I wonder if there's some. There must be truth to it.
I'm sure she's not just saying this. I think Tony Khan would never want his blind rankings to be used as fiction.
Okay,
and
yeah,
he's gonna Tekla promises to take off Starlight Kid's mask and spit in her face at Forbidden Door, which I think should be the stipulation.
She motioned for spit. She also said like hot steaming, like.
Yeah, she was definitely teasing a steamer, but I think she realized that there's only so far we can go. We can talk about like masturbating down your leg, but not.
But on pay-per-view, we haven't gotten that far. Okay, we had hypodermic needles. We never had a live, like shitting in the ring. So this could be
they'll save that for their return to Cleveland.
I thought Tekla like cut an awesome promo here. I think they've done a tremendous job in this feud. Like as far as like building it one-sided without any interaction from a Stardom like member or new whatever non-AEW member. Like I feel
are Starlight Kid and Zach the only outsiders we have on this show right now? I'll pull up the card at the end.
At the moment, yeah, because nothing from CMLL. Yeah, right.
Yeah, because
they haven't announced anything from CMLL, I believe. So.
It does make me wonder about, like, we've heard about all these visa problems, and I wonder if there's any of that affecting both CMLL and New Japan talent as well. Because, I've got the card here, and it's just Starlight Kid and Zach at the moment.
But because of like the established relationship between Tekla and Stardom, and just like the strength of Tekla's promos, I feel fully locked in on this match,
Yeah, no, I think the build has been good here, and it's been simple, but like Tekla's really carried this thing. But this was a good video package that they had. Lexi's with Brodito. They say they're still one of the best teams in the world, and Bandito challenges Jon Moxley for Forbidden Door, prompting the Death Riders to walk in, and Moxley reminds him that means no Brody, no Death Riders at ringside, and Bandito does get the match here. And I did wonder if the way this was positioned was like Brody was talking about these two like back as a team, and then Bandito, he's going for singles gold here. So I feel like that was implied.
No, say it ain't so. Come on, they just got back together. They can't be teasing breakup.
Yeah, Brody turns, and he joins Ice.
Oh, stop.
And he sends Bandito.
No, stop! Don't you dare! Don't even suggest that. I think like Bandito is like one of those guys because of his established track record. You can kind of throw him pretty cold onto a pay-per-view and just like he's like a Takeshita, like him versus Blank.
I think this match is going to be awesome. Yeah, like I think this match will be excellent.
Anytime he's on the card, you have to expect show stealer. So Moxley versus Bandito getting like ample time on pay-per-view sounds pretty great.
Does Moxley do a springboard in this match?
I don't know when he would have last done one. He does topes.
They should do a segment where Will teaches some lucha to John.
He teaches Moxley how to do like a springboard 450.
Yeah, how to do like a springboard Rana or something. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Do a 450. Yeah. Mercedes Moné and Hazuki in the semifinal of the Owen Cup. What a match this was. A rematch from Strong Style Evolved in 2024 in Long Beach, which I remember just being an incredible match. I looked this up to remember like what it got. It got 4 3/4 stars and a 9.20 on Cage Match. So Moné bails to the stage and she's staring at the trophy, and then she takes over until Hazuki DDTs her on the edge and lands 3 consecutive suicide dives, and this crowd starts chanting Hazuki. And this crowd, like sometimes you will get like it's a real challenge to get someone that's not as familiar with the audience over. This wasn't some case of like she was working really hard and the crowd was with her from the beginning, and that really helped. I thought because there was no learning curve here of Hazuki. They were really into this. Moné does the 3 amigos, Meteora off the ropes onto the stage. And then you have Hazuki going for the crossface, but she does not have the Gable grip, as Taz points out. And they're trading strikes from their knees, falling into one another. There's a brain buster, but Moné then rolls to the floor after taking it, and they trade covers back and forth. Moné applies the statement maker, but Hazuki bridges to a cover, kicking out, and Mercedes puts her up for the moneymaker. I'm like, oh, this is going so well. Don't tempt fate here with the moneymaker. But it's countered into an arm drag and then turned into a sunset roll up. Then La Magistral cradle by Hazuki for a 2 count. And after one final roll through, Hazuki gets hit with the backstabber and into the match ending statement maker as Mercedes manages to tap her out at 22 minutes and 25 seconds. Awesome match. I thought this was the match of the show.
It was absolutely incredible. First of all, what is this on her face? Like, what happened to her?
So
the match.
Yeah, they zoomed in on her, and part of me thought it was like her red hair was like mixed in with this, but there was. I don't think this was not like mascara or stuff. But
it looked like a case of terrible rug burn. But
it did not look like it was blood necessarily, but they zoomed in on her in the corner, and it was hard to tell like what exactly this was or what particular point in the match it came from. But it looks like that will be sore in the morning.
It was a match where I thought both women looked really, really good, and Moné further shows that that 6-month layoff did not give her any ring rust whatsoever. Like I think she's at the very top of her peak as an in-ring performer, in my opinion.
And these two, their chemistry is so good. Like, this was not just a case of that match 2 years ago. Like, they really complement each other well. They had a great crowd here. I thought this match was excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like Hazuki, whenever she comes back, I hope she'll be warmly welcomed by this audience.
Is this Tony Khan's new favorite wrestler outside of AEW?
You know what? We'll
Starlight Kid better have a hell of a match with Tekla.
Yeah, Tekla should be going after every member of Stardom. I think that would be a wonderful showcase for several of them on Dynamite.
We got a Maya World Athena video, which is being taped probably around now and will air Saturday on Collision. Face to face.
Let's talk about this because I was hoping for a promo from Maya World to build up to the match, and we got that here. This was a pre-taped video package, which I think was great. She sounded very good here, and whether or not that's to the benefit of editing or what doesn't matter. This was also a case where I think they conveyed at least some of the Ring of Honor history here, which actually there's plenty to be mined from. She was a trainee of Athena, which they established here. She also lasted 10 minutes against Athena to earn a title shot at the Ring of Honor Championship, which she then failed to win. But nonetheless, that established history is there between the two. And I really do think she represents the clear choice to advance to face Mercedes at Forbidden Door. I
agree. I think that's a big match with Mercedes and Maya World.
Well,
you can do Mercedes and Athena at another time. You have something here, and Maya going to the finals, I think it will be she will be the sentimental favorite in that match, and she doesn't have to win the tournament, but I would be putting her in the final. You have something here, and I think that match will mean more on the pay-per-view with what has happened here to this woman.
She's really the only option for several reasons, not just because of what happened to her personally, the tragedy of what happened to her, but because of the story with Athena. You took her to the limit. Yes, you lost your championship match. This is your chance in a non-title bout to beat her on the biggest stage so that you could get to a third match between the two of them where you will eventually beat Athena for the championship. I would contend, if that is the course of action, that Maya might be the most prominent sort of well-earned person to end Athena's reign, more so than Billy Starks, just given the stage of this particular story. I think also because Maya has openly cited Mercedes Moné as an inspiration for her to get into professional wrestling. So now you have the story of somebody overcoming the greatest odds, beating her toughest, her mentor, en route to facing one of the idols of her professional wrestling career. You can't write a better story than that. And I don't know. Obviously what happened was awful, but somehow finding this scenario to insert her to take Saray's place in all of this, I mean that's some sort of happenstance, because it almost feels like this tournament was created for Maya World, you know. And again, I don't really think she'll win. I don't think she should win, in fact, because I don't think she should go on to All In. But you know, her win in this tournament will be beating Athena. In fact, I would like to see Athena somehow cost Maya World the match against Moné, leaving Moné to be a bigger obstacle for her to climb in the future. So I'm really looking forward to how they tell this match. And I know you just read the results, so
I actually have a correspondent in Houston who's been DMing me results from the building.
Are you going to disappoint?
I am not I will not share it here. I will say without I don't know what the result of this match is, but it sounds like they did this as a surprise. Dante Martin was out and his opponent is Mystico, and apparently the audience went nuts for Mystico showing up.
So that answers maybe some whatever.
I would think Mystico's on Forbidden
thing.
Door. Yeah, that would set up something. So yeah, he was in Japan for Dominion on Sunday. But anyway, yes. Saturday night. It is,
I'm looking forward to that match and or reading the spoiler to the match.
Well, you can avoid them if you don't want to see it. There was a winner.
All right, say no more.
Shivani brings out Will Ospreay, congratulates him on the wedding, and said he was going to go on a honeymoon, but his wife told him to stay focused on the Owen Cup tournament, and then he smashed her up. You can describe it further if you must.
I can't. He said like it was just like sort of a dirty joke about his wife on national TV, which I mean is not unusual. But I will say, listen.
What do you mean it's not unusual? It's kind of weird.
He's kind of said stuff to this effect.
Okay.
About his wife in the past on national TV. So I just imagine maybe it's a British thing. I don't know.
This was further than Brock went at UFC 100.
I'm certainly I'm no prude, okay? Like I don't mind the comment itself, but I will say, as the first follow-up we are having to that very to me heartfelt interaction of seeing Alex Windsor go into Will Ospreay's arms following her loss against Mercedes in the Owen.
Perfect segue here.
I thought it took a lot of the edge off of the seriousness of that moment from Alex Windsor. I think he needed to comment a little bit on just how disappointing it was for his wife to set up her comeback, giving her something real to fight for rather than, what was
fuck me wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, tomato, I guess, for Will Ospreay here. Swerve comes out, and he's with Nana, and Tony is kicked out of the ring for having a too tight suit, and he hasn't liked what he's been seeing from Will, says he's changed, and Ospreay asks, do we have a problem? And Swerve says they spent all of 2025 fighting the Death Riders. Now you're hanging out with them and playing Booty Boot Camp, which leads to a Booty Boot Camp chant from the crowd, and says you have never explained why you have hooked up with the Death Riders. Ospreay, who has not forgotten any of the angles of last year, has not forgotten nor forgiven the Death Riders, but he had to let it go. Training's going well. My neck is better. My ground game is improving, he says. I wanted to know what belt he is up to. He brings up all the guys that tried to come and save him in the cage attack last year, but he didn't see Swerve trying to help. And Ospreay would have run through a brick wall for Swerve, who he called a brother. Then, as Swerve goes to answer, he knocks the mic down. He doesn't want to hear from Swerve. He says, Forbidden Door is bigger, and it's my dream. When I was growing up, every kid in my class was asked their dream, and it was to kick the winning goal at Wembley. Well, I'm one match away from getting to kick that goal. This is my World Cup, and I won't hesitate to end you. Swerve says he had to listen to Ospreay say last year, it's not our time, it's Hangman's time. And I helped get the belt off of Moxley, and where is Hangman now? Everything we did was for nothing. This guy can't even fight for the title anymore, and he's not going to step aside for Ospreay's path to Wembley. No, fuck that. So let's just keep it clear, okay? Fuck that, no problem. Dickhead, no way. Okay, that's where we draw the line on AEW programming. The two of them, Swerve says, we raise the bar every time we wrestle, and we're going to do it again. You've never beaten me in 10 years, and I'm going to continue to beat you again and again, because this version is not better than me on my worst day with your fragile neck. And this triggers Will, who attacks Swerve, Nana hands Swerve the chain, but the Death Riders are out as backup, and Swerve just shakes his head and tells Will, "You've changed," and he left. Fantastic segment that these two had.
This was incredible. Like, this was my favorite thing on the entire show. I mean, this felt like a scene out of a movie that was flawlessly delivered by these two men who I felt like I was watching live theater, you know, like I don't know whether these segments are like how they get scripted or how they get written, but the logic both men had in their words, I thought was very thoughtfully created and to me quite airtight. Like Swerve has a perfect reason to question Ospreay's current change in character because he's sleeping with the enemy. Ospreay, I think, nicely counters by questioning. This is like a pretty deep pull, but like, you know, like why Swerve didn't help him in the specific moment in that Page match to, you know, possibly avoid further injury for Ospreay. And I'm sure Swerve had like a perfectly logical explanation.
Well, he did. Will even brought it up, was like he had blown out his knee earlier.
He did come out.
No, but he didn't come out.
He did come out later. Came out
Swerve?
after. Swerve, yeah. He was the last one. Remember, like the smile at the end? So Ospreay is criticizing...
No. But we're talking about the attack on Will.
No. We're talking about All In.
Is that where he hurt the knee?
So, okay.
Because at All In, he's got the chain. He hands the chain to Hangman. Remember?
Yeah. Ospreay saying, I could have misheard it, but I thought Ospreay was saying, why didn't you come out earlier when I came out? Right?
Okay, so he might have said that. We might be conflating things because I think he brought up both these circumstances because earlier he was talking about you didn't come to help save me during the Death Riders attack at Forbidden Door last year.
Okay. And in either case, I'm sure there was a lot of thought put into the explanation. And I can buy both men having that grudge already, but beyond that, the bigger grudge that currently exists between these two is the fact that they both desperately want to enter this Wembley main event. And with Ospreay, I think it's a relatively easy story to tell. He's living up to a childhood dream. He's the Brit who's in this tournament looking to score the goal in the World Cup final, which I thought he beautifully stated using, you know, current events by the way. I thought it was tougher for Swerve to be able to like match that level of like sort of like motivation. And I thought Swerve did a great job here. Like his motivation is nothing tied to it being in his hometown, but it's the fact that he's had to wait a long time and he's sick of waiting. He's sick of being looked over. He's sick of like, you know, letting somebody take his spot. And I thought he delivered that incredibly passionately. And I thought this was some of the best like acting you'll see in pro wrestling, you know, today between the two. So yeah.
You know what I thought about at the end of this segment? Wai, when I threw that party for you right before your wedding in my backyard, why didn't you come earlier? That'll be our feud. That'll be the spark.
Ospreay is saying, if you came earlier, I wouldn't have been injured the way I was.
Everyone's keeping tabs. Okay, that is what is to be learned from these performers. They're very time sensitive. Great segment that they had. Lexi tells Jericho that Ciampa wants to see a more serious side, so Jericho proposes a serious face-to-face on Collision. And then Ospreay's fuming in the back with Daniel Garcia. Garcia mentions the word fragile, so he puts Garcia up against the wall. And Moxley, who is so good in these segments, says, "Do you feel in control of yourself right now? Or out there? It's just words. They can't hurt you unless you let them. They only use words when they have nothing else." And tells him not to lose focus, not when we're this close. From a man that has never spent a day on social media, his wisdom is wise beyond his years.
Beautiful, really, like profound even, you know, like he really is coming across like a great, like Yoda to Will Ospreay. And it is so like pure and like almost like morally sort of like honorable that like that turn is going to be so shocking, you know, because like just looking at a scene like this, you just think like Moxley truly has like the, you know, like Will's best interests in his sort of like motivation. But
if Moxley gets jumped by anyone, Will better be there right away. Okay, there better be no hesitation or coming out last. Yeah, don't give this guy any reason. Okay. Collision on Saturday, announced so far. Zack Sabre Jr. against Adam Priest. Chris Statlander against Mina Shirakawa in a survival of the fittest qualifying match. The Bucks and Jack Perry against The Swirl. Athena Meyerworld. The face-to-face with Jericho and Ciampa. And let me look here in case there's anything else that is not. The Hurt Syndicate have a match. Mystico and Dante Martin. Pac has a singles match. So anyway, that's Mina and Statlander is the last match of the show. So that is all.
Or survival of the fittest.
Yes, for the qualifier. Main event, it is the 12-man tag with MJF, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Okada, Doyle, and Andrade against Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Takeshita, and Darby Allin. So Kyle is in the back and says that Tony Khan ruled that if anyone gets disqualified, they are out of the steel cage match. Would hate for AEW to have one of its many, many stereotypical DQs to affect a pay-per-view main event. So thankfully we avoided anyone being DQ'd and out of the pay-per-view. Briscoe then makes the announcement of the final two members of the team and says, from the Oriental land, Konosuke Takeshita. Anyone else, this would be mildly offensive, but for Mark Briscoe, you just let it run. I mean, he was a huge, great Sasuke fan in WWF. Came up on Vince
somehow
McMahon's
it's endearing
commentary.
when he says it. Not so
Konosuke.
Not so much when Jerry Lawler does it, but when Mark Briscoe can get away with anything, really.
And then Takeshita walks in and he simply says, Kyle, I want you. Okada, I hate you. Great. And then the last man, of course, Darby, that joins the team.
It's a good lineup. I mean, like this certainly feels main event worthy for Forbidden Door.
It does. I could still see Roderick being taken out of this one.
What? You hate Roderick Strong that much?
I'm not. I'm just saying I could see him being taken out and replaced with somebody, someone returning something. Do one more surprise. They love their mystery partner surprise reveals. They love it so much. I mean, if Roderick Strong headlines an AEW pay-per-view, I will say that night I was incorrect.
The time to do that would have been in this match where like they could have injured him.
They did. He was holding the arm after because it's like MJF would not let go of the salt of the earth. So they do have. They at least teased it. Okay. MJF's leg and knee are all wrapped up. It wasn't just like we knew like he hyperextended his knee, but this was going all the way up his quad. But he was involved in the match. It's not like they hid him throughout this. Of course, Fletcher and O'Reilly get in, so we get the Kyle chant going. Darby hits a coffin drop onto Jake Doyle. These two are going to have some massacre of a match together at some point, probably at the pay-per-view too. But Jake Doyle is going to murder this man in many forms, I'm guessing, over the next month. Doyle does this comedy bit where his back is towards the ring, and he thinks he's grabbing Orange's arm, but it's MJF's, and starts snapping it. So, haha. Tommaso Ciampa would have hated this. Strong comes in, and Strong did have a great comeback here with all these backbreakers. They tried to put a lot of focus on him. Okada goes for a tombstone onto Cassidy. Takeshita stops it, so we get Okada and Takeshita going at it briefly. Darby then chases Kevin Knight through the crowd onto the stage, where Doyle comes from behind, chokes Darby, and launches him off the stage and into the steel post. MJF, his knee buckles after a heat seeker attempt and takes the J Driller, but Callis distracts Bryce, so the cover is not recognized. Fletcher stops a follow-up froggy bow, and then Strong is the legal man and takes an arm wringer from Max and into the salt of the earth, where he submits, and MJF will not let go of the hold. So we continued the attack on Briscoe and company afterward, with MJF getting out the ring and instructing Andrade to hold Mark Briscoe. And Andrade is refusing, but he is talked into holding him up, and they lay out Mark Briscoe with the Dynamite diamond ring. So the heels stand tall, as they should have at the end of the show going into the cage match.
I thought this was an awesome match, as like most multi-person AEW matches tend to be. And as a way to like whet your appetite for Forbidden Door. I mean, I thought the way this all came together and unfolded throughout the show in naming one side of the team, making you wait all the way till the main event till they announce the other side, I thought did a great job of promoting like what at this point coming off of this show truly does feel like a main event of a pay-per-view. And I also think like what separates this from your run-of-the-mill multi-person match, or even like a good chunk of like Survivor Series matches, which a lot of the promos in like announcing the team really felt like, today. Like it felt like the type of like old school Survivor Series thing where like the leader speaks and then each person of the team gets to speak a little bit. Anyway, the work rate in this match I thought was incredible. Like this really does feel, I wouldn't necessarily say all-star game because you're missing a lot of the stars in AEW, but they are all capable of a 4.5, 5-star level match. Every single person on this in this match. So you got some incredible pace of action and heat here. But to me, the biggest difference is the fact that you had so many stories taking place between all the members of the match, and not just across the sides, but within the teams themselves. Knight and Darby, of course, have their program. Which at this point, like, I wonder if they would even take that all the way to All In, because, I mean, there's just, that it's so heated, right? He cost him the championship or attacked him after on a pay-per-view. Anyway, Doyle is Doyle is I think very well established here in this match as well. I wonder if like at some point Mark Davis was considered for this, but I love the fact that Jake Doyle has it because it's a way to assure Doyle and the audience that he's just not going to be left behind. The way Davis was when like Kyle Fletcher really kind of became big.
They're now playing one person. They take turns.
I guess so. But the fact that like your tag team partner achieves single success does not mean you are going to be forgotten. And like Doyle looked great here. They structured a lot of the big man spots really well around him. Takeshita, Fletcher, and Okada have their thing going that'll be like heated up as a result of this. MJF and Briscoe, MJF Andrade, MJF Knight, MJF Darby, like all those stories are being told. And of course, you even had a bit of dissent between Fletcher and Knight here. So many things that could be achieved, not just Mark Briscoe winning a championship coming off of this match.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a really good job of all this connective tissue involving the 12 here as well. I thought this was a really strong edition of Dynamite. Like, no bad matches on this show. Like, Omega Tony Nese served its purpose. Like, it was
promos were really strong.
Promos were excellent.
Swerve Ospreay was great.
Yeah, like you did the angle with Cope, Cage, and the Dogs. You had that unbelievable women's match. The main event was excellent. The Brodito match with Moxley and Garcia was like, this was a really good show, but it wasn't just like a good like self-contained wrestling show. It's like it really built the pay-per-view effectively. Really got this main event established. Forbidden Doors shaping up, as you would imagine, to feel like a really great show on paper. We've got 7 matches so far with Ospreay Swerve, Mercedes against the winner of the Collision match, Kenny Omega, Zack, Tekla and Starlight Kid, the 12-man steel cage match tag, Moxley Bandito for the Continental title, and then Copeland and Cage against the Dogs for the tag titles, and more matches to come.
Okay.
And probably Jericho Ciampa on there, you would assume.
Yeah, I would imagine something with CMLL talent as well. Okay. Wow. That's half the card, at least.
Yeah, where we have the first half, and we've got a week and a half to get the other 7 promoted. All right, well, we are going to say goodbye to everybody. We've got a 5-hour WrestleMania card to review tomorrow. What are you up to?
I have a pretty long evening.
No way. I thought you were getting ahead of things.
I wasn't just like one thing after another. So anyway.
Well, everyone, he always does it. I don't know how, but he somehow does it. We will be chatting with you on Thursday for Rewind-A-Wai. Friday night, Wai is back with Neil for Rewind-A-SmackDown, which is a pretty loaded up show. They've got Cody and Gunther with Sami Zayn, commercial free. So that is happening on Friday evening. Kind of a low-key weekend. We don't have too much big shows going on, but of course, Kate will be live with Collision Course with Ray Williams, who was on the ground at the White House last week. Well, on the ellipse, I believe he was, covering the UFC Freedom 250. So maybe he will be talking a little bit about that as well. And
he will return on Sunday for our latest edition of the NWA podcast. Always a lot of topics for that crew to talk about.
Yes, I imagine the group will be talking about that UFC show last weekend. So I will be listening to that for sure. All right, goodbye to everyone on the YouTube channel.